Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Dhृतविग्रहं Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirsa Namamaha. Namaste and welcome to our Sunday discourse. Today, I will try to share with you and work with you to design an aid to studying scriptures or spiritual teachings, where the spiritual knowledge can be systematically, diagrammatically, in a picture form, be represented rather than only abstract ideas and knowledge. So the scriptures which our rishis have given to us, you see, contain very few drawings and diagrams. Lots of verses in Sanskrit, and when you want to extract the knowledge or the wisdom that they're trying to impart, you have to learn the meaning of the words that are there, the language, then you have to try to put it together, a very abstract idea, and there are ideas all over the place. One moment you're talking about the Supreme Atman Brahman, the next moment about Maya, then the Jivatma, then the world. And at the end of the day, you get lots of information there, which you construct or try to construct in some meaningful picture way. But that itself is a huge exercise trying to decipher what is the message that the spiritual teacher is trying to get. It takes so much time and energy into that. On top of, to help us, that great teachers, Madhvacharya, Ramanuja, Acharya Shankara have written bhashyas on them. Again, they are long, detailed descriptions using logic. And very soon you find we can get very easily lost in that jungle of ideas, the spiritual thoughts and ideas. Sometimes it's very, very illuminating and interesting when suddenly a new idea flashes in your mind and you feel that sense of joy. And sometimes people enjoy that part only. And the scriptures, study of scriptures become an enjoyment in themselves. Others might write beautiful articles, others might give beautiful talks, but it's all about trying to play around the meaning and the words, where the whole purpose behind those the teachings given by the scriptures, the rishis and the sages, was to make us go beyond the scriptures to practice spiritual sadhana, transform ourselves, purify our own mind and heart, so that we can actually have that experience ourselves. That was the whole goal or purpose of giving the scriptures. So first is this conceptual knowledge. So we should have some degree of clarity. Then what is the path, how to realize that truth? That's the sadhana part. Some idea about what I should do. Then actually getting about doing it in action and trying to realize that truth as a self-verification, not depending on the words because somebody said so, their experience. Aparokshanabhuti, having a direct experience. So if the scriptures, the study of the scriptures, awaken in us, in our hearts and mind, and a desire to have that experience ourselves, an ichha, I wish to have that experience myself. If there is such a wonderful entity called the Atman within us, if we are that entity which is of the nature of infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, freedom, peace, purity, goodness, beauty, all the things, then I would like to have that experience of myself. That's my true nature. Okay, so the whole purpose, the starting point is that ichha. That's a type of a power. Without that ichha, you will not move. Okay, so if that awakens, then you will ask the question, how do I achieve that? That becomes jnana. So the first part is called ichha shakti, wish, I want to do it, I will do it. Next is the jnana shakti, knowledge. How do I achieve that? For example, you had to go to a particular place, from here to Sydney. So because something very interesting is happening there and you want to go and witness that and be part of it. I want to have that experience, not watch it remotely or on TV. So that's your desire. I want to be in the cricket match or whatever you want to say, have that experience. Then you say, how do I get there? Okay, there's so many ways. So you have to find out what are the various methods. You can fly, you can drive, you can go by train in so many ways. If you did not have all that knowledge, you are first time you've come into the country, then while the HI is there, but it's not getting translated into the goal because the knowledge portion is missing. So the scriptures and the spiritual teachers give us that jnana part of it, the karma yoga, the bhakti yoga, dhyan yoga, dhyan yoga, gyan yoga, all these various yogas are there, methods by which we can connect ourselves to the ultimate truth. The Jivatma can be connected to the Paramatma, the ego, which is the experience functioning in this, identified with this body-mind complex, can now make an attempt to connect itself to the total source of it. That becomes jnana, and the scriptures give you that. Okay, that itself is a very interesting exercise. Adhyatma Vidya, knowledge, science is there about your own self. But just knowing that I can fly to Sydney doesn't mean that I have reached Sydney. I have to do certain things. I have to go and purchase a ticket. I should have the money to purchase a ticket, make an effort, go to the airport, board the plane and land there. Then I will reach it. So the third part is Kriya Shakti. So Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti. You'll find that in our everyday life, in whatever we want to achieve, we are using these three powers that is present in all of us. It could be simple, something like I wish to cook a particular meal. That's what I wish today. Today I would like to have something. Then how to cook that preparation? Do you know the recipe and the method of cooking? That should be there. Otherwise, you will not be able to enjoy that meal. Having known that, whether you get it from the YouTube or ask your mother or somebody like that, then you have to go into the kitchen and put all the ingredients, kriya, action. At the end of the day, you will have a meal to enjoy yourself. Likewise, we are using these three powers. So be mindful how this internal process is happening. It happens so fast, imperceptibly. Our minds are so much tuned to seeing things outside, not observing the inner workings. Try to be mindful of that mindfulness, that awareness that here's a desire that's arising. And do you like that desire? Is it good for you or not? Is it going to take you for a ride and waste your time and effort? Or is it something really beneficial and useful to you? So there's a discrimination that is inside there. Is it really worth the time and effort and all that? Then you should control that. Okay, this is something I would like to do. Let me set myself to find out the method, the knowledge, what it all means about. That becomes the Jnana Shakti. You might ask somebody, you might read some book, you might do some research on the internet. That is another process. And the better you do that, the clearer the idea is, you'll find that the third state becomes easier. But if you somehow miss the middle set, the jnana part, and have a little hazy, confused idea, when it comes to action, your action is all over the place. It doesn't have that focus. So certain degree of clarity is necessary, understanding path. And then you have to use these hands to actually do the thing, action. Okay, so without that becoming translated into an activity, all that wishing, if wishes were horses, we could all ride it, as they say, or knowing so many things, because nowadays there's so much abundance of knowledge and information through various sources. That is also very easily available. In the olden days, you didn't have all that. You have to really struggle hard to go and find a scripture or a teacher who will teach that. Now you just go into the internet, you find so much information, so much of lectures and talks and all those things are there. But if that urge doesn't translate into action, then the whole thing fizzles out and disappears. And you could be forever daydreaming and planning and wishing and becoming an old person with so many unfulfilled wishes. All those things are there. So it's very important that in life, at some stage, we should find out what we really want to do in this life with this opportunity that you are born. Okay, enjoyments and all those things come. You will grow into an adult and become an old person and die. That is automatic. That's a part of nature, how the physical body will develop and disappear. Mind you can cultivate into different professions. I want to be a doctor, engineer, something like that, and learn from your own experiences. And you come to the old age where you have accumulated some wisdom about that profession, what life has taught to you. But the bigger questions of life, who am I, where did I come from, where I am going, what's the meaning and purpose, if you can start early in life with those things also, and get some little bit of information and understanding and enlightenment from the scriptures, and saying the real purpose of life is to realize myself. I am not an ordinary physical human being only, or mental being, but I am in essence, a spiritual being. My nature is something so transcendental and beautiful and sublime. And this purpose of life, as I go from childhood to death, between the womb and the tomb, as they say, there has to be a journey of progress and development. It should not be just a lateral journey of and like an animal being born and dying. Likewise, a human being also is born and dying. No, a human being will ascend the path. He'll grow deep, higher and higher. That's the quality and measure of what you'll achieve in your life. How far you have risen of the mental level, the physical level, the sense-bound level, beyond the mind, and closer to your spiritual essence, that would be the measure of the utility, the value of what you are going to get out of this life. Everything else will be left behind. So if you set your goal that in this life, I might not realize the goal, but I'm going to take one big shot at it, give my best effort in the midst of all these activities and see what progress I can make. So the scriptures then guide us in that process. But ultimately, there are so many paths. Jato mat tato path, as Sri Ramakrishna says. As many faiths, so many paths. The center is one, but there can be radius, like if you look at the wheel of a bicycle, there's one central hub, but there's so many spokes. There's so many radius, and each one of them is going and connecting to the same cycle. They might look totally opposite, coming from different directions, but ultimately they all connect to the same point. Those who have reached that center, they appreciate that, understanding that, look, apparently we could be contradictory. Our values and ideas could be different. But really, when you reach the center, they're all different means to the same goal. Then we don't fight, don't quarrel, don't try to say, bring others to my path. We try to reach our journey, knowing that we'll all meet in the central point. That central essence where we all are united, that oneness is our spiritual self. Away from it, we are divided, differentiated. The more we go closer and closer and closer to it, the more we integrate ourselves to it, the more wholesome and close, complete we feel. And at the center, we are all one. That one is a spiritual consciousness. The essence of Vedanta is that oneness and the divine nature of that spiritual consciousness that we are. These are the two pillars of Vedanta. So the spiritual teachers try to cater to the needs of people of all different temperaments. Some are very emotional people, so the path of jnana is very natural to them. Others are very rational and intellectual. They want to understand everything as much as possible, and then they will only engage into it. They will reason with you, argue with you, and all those things. Others are there who says, I don't want to bother about all that intellectual gymnastics, and tell me what to do. I'm a man of action. Okay, let others worry about all those things. So they are very much focused, and if you tell them this is the sadhana you do, they dive into it. Others are there who have got a contemplative nature. They can sit down quietly, disconnect themselves from the external world and try to deep dive within themselves. So these are the ideal candidates for meditation. Swami Vivekananda said that don't be one-sided. Let all the four yogas, harnessing the faculties and the capability of your whole being. Hands are for action, heart is for feeling, emotion, so bhakti, head is for thinking, reasoning, intellectual, use that, and also sometimes sit down there. These four yogas to harmoniously blend and expedite our progress towards a central goal is what is represented in the logo of the Ramakrishna Mission, the four yogas. And the goal is that Supreme Swan, representative of the Atman, is the entity that we want to realize. It is our own spiritual self. And so a very harmoniously balanced person will cultivate all these things. But one of the features could be more prominent in the pursuit because they are constituted in that particular way. So when the spiritual teachers try to explain to us the various spiritual teachings, so they try to explain the various entities in that framework. The Atman is this, the Paramatman is this, the Jivatman is this is Maya, this is bondage, this is how, all that, so many ideas are there coming in so many verses and many chapters, things. How do we put a comprehensive one single picture where all the ideas can nicely fit in a jigsaw puzzle, where when you put all the pieces together, what you get is something more than the individual pieces, a collective, complete picture, so to say. If you take one individual piece and you look at it, it's got a particular shape and some particular image. You're trying to put it together. You can't put it anywhere and everywhere because you'll not get the proper meaning. It's only when you place all those ideas in their proper place, then you don't look at the individual pieces anymore. You don't look at the individual concepts anymore. What you have constructed is a beautiful picture of a person or something, and you look at that and say, wow, that's so beautiful. But initially, you are dealing with those small components, and that could be all over the place. And if you don't put them together in a proper way, you don't get a meaningful experience out of it. In the same way, the spiritual ideas and concepts that the scriptures talk in detail, and they might go zoom into it and try to explain in so much detail. Okay, one idea and then the whole chapter is dedicated to that, then another idea is taken another chapter. But if you can't put it all together in a systematic way, in a holistic way, then they all are not very useful to you, and they don't inspire you and encourage you to realize the whole meaning behind it. So having that, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads and the teachers, you'll find so many concepts taught again and again. They try to talk about the entity in itself. Then you'll find that they try to talk about the relationship between the things. Okay, how the two pieces fit in there. That's what you're looking at. So when you take a piece of a jigsaw in your hand and say, here I've got it, it's got a particular shape, but now I'm trying to see the relationship with the rest of it. Where does it fit in? That finding the relationship is the important part. That will lead to the next thing where we learn about the process from one end to the other. Because at the end of the day, we don't want content. We want the process, and the process is going to transform you. Having too much information and knowledge gives you so much content, so much information in your head only. It could be running all over the place. That is not education. It is those concepts that are systematically integrated into a meaningful picture that gives you your starting point and clarifies to your end point and shows you the various paths to go from one to the other. And you choose the one that suits your temperament and stage of growth and development and all that is what you want to finalize for yourself. Now, there could be so many paths, and so many could be irrelevant to you. I could go to Sydney by plane or by train or by car, or even take a walk, depending on how quickly I want to get there and how much money I have in my pocket. All those things are there. So you have to find which one applies to you. That's very important. You don't need to know the whole of the scriptures. So out of the many, understanding your own mindset, understanding your own spiritual temperament and where you're comfortable with, that is the most important thing for you. The rest can wait. It's maybe not for you, it's for others. So when you read the Bhagavad Gita, when you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, these are from the incarnations of God. They come and give the message and the teachings for the whole of humanity. They are not for one person or one small community or one country. It's for the whole of the world, and it's also not for today. They are also for another 5 centuries or something. Over time, as people will evolve, those teachings will still be relevant. So you can imagine it's meant to cater for the needs and the tastes of a huge population of people. You and me as a Sikha have to find out that path that is going to be my journey. And that's where each one has to process that in their own way. Very few people will tell you this is for you. Maybe a spiritual teacher who knows you very well and you ask, take the guidance, they will give you some general guidance. But at the end of the day, yes, you have to find out your path and start working. Ichcha is a desire for self-realization or freedom. It's called mumukshatvam. Okay, I want to be free. It's one of the qualities of a spiritual aspirant in Vedanta. One must be a seeker of freedom. They alone become free who are awake to the idea of freedom. You see, those who want to become free will find a way some out of it. An animal that is living in a cage and happy in there, he doesn't want to break out of the cage. And if you open the cage, he might go back into the cage because he's happy there, type of thing. But those who want to become free will find some way to get out of it. That desire for freedom comes from the idea that in the first place, we are in terrible bondage, in which there's more ignorance and suffering, but that's not my true destination and goal or my nature. Let me break this out somehow or the other. And he looks upon the world and so many things as so many forms of bondages, and that person becomes restless to get out. That intense desire to become free is called mumukshatva. Sri Ramakrishna calls it vyakulta, that intense desire to have that realization of God. In his own life, he will see that intense desire was there as a priest when he was worshipping Mother Kali in the Dakshineshwar temple. And so many other priests were there who were happy to do that as a profession and get paid for the priesthood. But Sri Ramakrishna was not after that money and livelihood. He was looking for that knowledge. And so ultimately, when he tried and prayed so much to the Divine Mother, he said, it's still not happening. He was ready to forsake even life for that experience. So when that idea of freedom gets hold of you, then you'll find that all other small petty interests and things, concerns automatically fade away into nothingness. That central idea becomes something that you want now, and you'll not settle for anything other than that. So these are, that being the goal, the scriptures tell you so many methods. You try to understand as much as possible, try to fit those jigsaw pieces in a particular way so that some paths become clear, and then you understand the utility of the scriptures is that they will guide you. They're like a map. They're not really like a map. They're more like when you ask for GPS, put a destination, they give you little instructions. You know, you go this distance in that direction, then you turn right, and there's another street there. So you, step by step, you take. And you follow that, you will reach some destination where you want to. If you can drive well and you can understand the map and your GPS compasses and everything is functioning well, but you have to get into the car and start following that. This life is a wonderful opportunity to travel in a spiritual journey. So we want to understand a little bit about the destination, which is our own true self, the various paths that will there, and find out what would be the path taken for myself. So the scriptures teach you all various things, and you should not spend 20 years of your life reading the scriptures and reading all the Upanishads. They all talk about the same thing. At the essence of it, Sri Acharya Shankara, after writing so many commentaries on so many Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, he said, I'll give you the essence of the whole thing in half a verse. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya Jiva Brahmaiva Napara. Brahman is the absolute consciousness, is the eternal reality, permanent reality. This world in time, space, and causation is a relative thing. Today it's not there. Yesterday it was not there. Today it's not here, and tomorrow it won't be. That could be like, it could be the life of a mosquito or a virus, or it could be the life of a solar system or universe. But everything in time appears, stays for a while, and disappears. This is mithya. It's an appearance only. It's not the reality. The Atman, or pure consciousness, is the reality out of which everything has come, by which everything is sustained, into which everything goes, included in that everything I am also. So Jiva Brahmaiva Napara, this Jivatma that I experience in myself and that supreme ocean of consciousness of Brahman are identical, na apara, non-different. It's only in ignorance that I feel myself separated from that, different from that. Different means that is a spiritual consciousness. I feel I'm a physical body. I am a mind. I am some emotion. This is some ego in there. That's my identity, my biodata, my CV. Everything is there. But he says that is not our true identity. So the scriptures try to explain all those things and then try to help us, guide us in the journey by which this mind, which is caught down at the physical level, busy with the body, busy with the senses, engaged with the external world, is to be restrained, turned around. The gates have to be shut. Don't go outside, go inside. And the mind is then turned inwards, avrikta chakshu, turned inwards. Okay? And then we try to penetrate layer after layer, go beyond the body, beyond the senses, beyond the mind, beyond the intellect, and abide in our true nature. And that's where freedom, nirvana, God realization, self-realization is there. So today, I will try to help develop some tools by which when we approach a verse of the Bhagavad Gita or chapter of a particular scripture, instead of dealing with thoughts and ideas and concepts, can we take those ideas and put in a graphical form, because it's easier to remember an image that you draw in your mind than to remember so many ideas. Actually, we communicate through ideas, through images fundamentally. That's the primary way. The secondary lower level is through words and ideas. For example, if I'm sitting in front of a beach and you're far away and I'm trying to describe to you what I am seeing. So I can see the beautiful ocean, the horizon, the sun is at the horizon, the sky is orangish, the waves are there, I can feel a little breeze, and there's a boat sailing. I'm using different words to describe various things that I'm seeing. You are listening to my words and sentences and phrases and everything, but what you really are doing in your own mind, you are trying to construct an image. Okay, and if my description is very good and vivid, and you are paying attention to it, and communication is good, there's not too much noise there, hiding that information, and your attention is there also, and your power of visualization is good, you will have a fairly good picture of what I'm saying. It won't be exact. No matter how many words I use, I cannot replicate it. But what you are going to carry tomorrow, if somebody asks you, what did he say? You are not going to remember all the words that I used. You will pull out from your memory that image and try to represent it. In other words, we were trying to communicate fundamentally through images, but we took the help of words to do it. If we could do without the words, even better. And how would that be? I might take a photo and on my phone and send it to you. All that talking that could happen in half an hour, you see, in a flash, in a second, that has been communicated to you. Such is the power of visualization, power of imagery. And we want to use some of that higher form of communication to grasp things, than simply depending on intellectual words. All right. So this series of talks would be trying to build a structure, a matrix, a framework where we position all those things in the relevant places, and when a new piece of information or teaching comes, a particular verse of the Bhagavad Gita, we put it there and said, let me take these words out and put them in the right place. If the Atman is there, it should be in the top. If the Maya is in the bottom, the world is here, and you suddenly construct a picture. No more words are there, just a picture comes, which becomes very, very clear in your mind. Initially, it will be a two-dimensional picture on your piece of paper, book. Then you try to come out of that and try to relate it to this three-dimensional world, because you're living in this. Okay, it's not on the paper, it's I am part of that reality. So here's the body, where's my mind, where's my intellect and all that. And then you'll find that you'll do that because we are so conditioned to live, to be living at the same frequency of bandwidth, which is sense-bound. The reality is another dimension, we might say, a different degree of subtlety there. And we want to develop that mental framework so that when I sit here and I try to conceptualize or visualize the divine, then I have that relationship. This is the body, there is a mind, where is the mind, where is the intellect, and this Atman or Brahman that I'm talking about, where is it here and now? Where should I feel it? Then in meditation, you'll try to actually actualize that which was visualized in your or imagined in your study in things, and have that actual experience. Okay, so that's the whole idea. So let's go back to this. Use some drawings to explain. So they say the ultimate reality is a transcendental truth, Brahman Om. So let's put a borderline there and say up here is Brahman as the macrocosmic being, the total consciousness behind the whole universe, and within us is the Atman, in the Jivatman, in the microcosm. That Atman, Brahman, is of the nature of pure consciousness. Let's represent that like, okay, let's make it little. In it is the pure eye sense. Our focus, the locus, that's a reality. The eye sense that we experience here has its basis in the pure Atman. Okay, so that is the root there, we said. That is our capital I, we say. Okay, so I sense is the aham bhava, when I feel I am, amness, that all of us feel, whether it's a child or an animal or plant, everyone feels in existence, I am. But when you try to say where I am, then it identifies itself with the various layers. I'm the body or the mind or my profession and this, that. But that is an upadhi, it has become identified with a covering. So this is the pure Atma. The rest of the reality which is down, that is manifested in the process of evolution, creation, or projection is the right word, not creation, is called Shakti. Shakti, or the power of Brahman, by which it projects itself. He says, I was one, I am one, let me become many. Why he wants to do that, you can't tell, because that's his self-will. But we are part of the many, so to say. So in that process, this Shakti, another word is called Prakriti. Prakriti means differentiation, or the differentiated. The differentiated one. Or it can call be Maya. We are all in Maya, we say. This differentiation means that which has become many. How one has become many? A beam of white light, from the left, passing through a prism, comes out on the other side as a whole array of colors, isn't it? Which we call the rainbow and everything. How many colors are there in white light? Many people will say 7, but we have discussed there are infinite number of colors. For convention, we say there are 7 main colors there. This prism, which does the magical thing of breaking a white beam of light into so many beautiful colors, is what is Maya is. It is that which makes the one appear as many. Okay, so what is that? There are 3 sides of this triangle, prism. One is called time. The other is space. And the third one is causation. Time, space, and causation, TSC, is the Maya through which the white beam of consciousness passing through time, space, and causation appears as this relative world of the 7 lokas, we say, Brahma Loka, Bhur, Bhuva, Swa, Mahajana, Satya, Tapa, Brahma Loka, 7 planes of consciousness, we say, where the physical one is the grossest, it becomes finer and finer and finer. Brahma Loka is like at the borderline, and beyond that is the absolute reality, the transcendental quality. So you see, our mind is constituted to not see the totality. It is constituted to see particulars. We talked about it. If I send you in a room where there are no things, or you go send you a room where various things are there, you go and ask you to come and report to me, what do you see there? And you'll say there's some chairs and tables and this and that. Then somebody comes and removes all those various things I'm talking about, and you go again and come back and tell me what is there. You'll come and say there's nothing there. You don't come and tell me it's full of space. So if I show you this particular piece of screen here and I say, how many colors do you see there? You say, I don't see any colors. But if I tell you, hey, look, that white that you are seeing is made of all the colors. All colors combined together, as you, in Newton's wheel, you spin it together, and the rainbow of colors will turn into white. But we are conditioned to see things. We are conditioned to see differentiated things as separate. That's how the mind is, the characteristic of the mind, it wants to define something immediately. Break down into parts. That's how we study, biology. Okay, these are the various systems, these are organs and parts and this and that, and each one is defined, and we try to then construct the whole thing, and we think we get that type of knowledge with a combination of information. That is not an integrated knowledge. The way you feel yourself as a body, that's also a type of experience, isn't it? I know myself, but is it same? Do you say I've got a digestive system, nervous system, skeletal system, muscular system, like that? You're talking in that way? No, I feel myself as a totality. This experiencing of yourself as a totality is one way of knowing. The other one is knowing like a doctor who has studied the various parts of the body and he is looking, analyzing things. Which one is better? The total experience of it. And you are experiencing it without any knowledge of all this anatomy and sciences like that. That is far superior to it. So this Atman experience has very little to do all this various ways of concepts that we are there. They're just to help us understand that in the body, that all these systems are there. The systems will combine together and produce that what we call an organism. But the combined total is much more than the individual system, so to say. What I'm saying is, knowledge is useful, concepts are useful, but we have to go beyond that and aim for that experience. So let's go back here. In this chart that we are trying to draw here, let us say now there are various layers of that consciousness. Subjectively, we try to define it. Remember, there's no real borderline where one ends and the other one starts. These are human ways, the way the mind defines certain things. So I say this Atman, which is pure consciousness, in the process of evolution or projection, first forms an I sense here. Okay, at the borderline of that Prakriti. The pure consciousness is called Purusha, and the rest is called Prakriti or nature or Shakti. In that process of differentiation, when the whole creation is there, the first world layer is the causal layer, very, very fine, okay, of the layer of intelligence. So we'll say that becomes a little bit more grossified, materialized, so to say. So there is some energy that became water vapor, so to say, very fine, invisible, filled up the room. Then the process of condensation takes place. Condensation means the energy level goes down. Okay. And when that happens, it becomes water droplets. Okay. So it becomes a liquid, visible. You can feel it, taste it, hold it in your hand also. So we call that subtle. And then later it becomes more materialized and it becomes gross. So in here, gross would be body plus the sense organs. The subtle would be the mind. And the causal will be intellect or intelligence. Okay. So here we are developing a framework that we are at the gross level, and outside beyond that is the gross world. So if we say that is what I am, that's the macrocosm, and then outside is the external world. So here within the bounds of the skin is what I call myself. Outside is other things, other people, plants, trees, but they're all made of matter, and that matter is flowing from one form into the other. That energy which was there in the sun was captured by the chlorophyll in the plant, became starch, you ate it, or some other animal ate it, and it formed a body, and then it's not becoming part of your body, and then little cells are dying. There's a flux of energy and matter flowing through. This little whirlpool that we have constituted is our body and mind. That's our identity. But it's not permanent. Every moment cells are being born. Every moment cells are also dying. The energy is flowing. So long we can hold on to it and keep it intact, you're alive. But at some point, some disease or something might come, or simply old age come, it will not be able to continue and it will break down. And you say that has going under the process of decomposition or going back to its form. And you say the physical body has died. Only the body has died. Remember, the mind still remains. The intelligence still remains. The ego still remains. So you're not 100% dead. If you could die, all the three levels die, then you become total free. Each of these embodiments is a layer, a trap that restricts the manifestation of that inner light of consciousness. So we'll talk about that later. Here is this framework. Atman is the supreme pure consciousness. Okay. It's not that we have to remember, when you try to represent this in a diagrammatic form, that which is multidimensional into a two-dimensional image, a lot of information gets lost in there. You have to exercise our understanding in a deeper way. The Atman actually is not sitting right on top, but it pervades everything all the way down there. So that's the background all the way. But when you put one layer and another layer and another layer, we become so much focused on the layers, not the Atman, that is the substratum there. It's not that the Atman is only at the highest transcendental level. It is all the way through, but we are more focused or aware of, because we are sense bound, that we see a material body and all that, or a mind or an intellect. But ultimately, it's the same Atman that is appearing as many. One existence appearing as many. There's a beautiful lecture of Swami Vivekananda, One Existence Appearing as Many, in the volume 3 of the complete works. I would want you to, it will be nice if you read that, and where Swamiji tries to give this idea, what is the mind, what is the body, what is the intellect, where is the Atman, and how the whole thing, all that whole matrix is developed. So, gross body. Within the gross body are the 5 sense organs. Okay? What are the 5 sense organs? The eyes, the ears, the nose, the skin, and the tongue, through which we interact with the world. They are called Jnana Indriyas, organs of, instruments of knowledge. We also have 5 organs of action, Karma Indriyas, feet for moving around, hands for holding things, mouth for speaking, and then the other 2 organs are the organs of excretion and reproduction. These are the Pancha Karma Indriyas. All right. Behind that, finer than that, is what is called the Antakarna. Karna means an instrument. Anta means inner instrument. That instrument by which we control the gross body and control the senses. We manipulate them, use them. What is that? Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, and Ahankara. Mana is the mind, the power where the Chitta is the hard disk, so to say, where all the information is stored. The mind stuff, so to say. It's a substance. Okay, so, but when that substance takes some shape, vrittis, waves, whirlpools appear, that is called manas. Okay, chitta is the substance, but the modification of that substance into particular form is called manas. Buddhi is a superior power of observation, decision making, judgment, and all that, which is superior to the mind. So it's watching the minds and seeing, my mind is thinking, my mind is feeling this, there's a happy thought, there's an unhappy thought, all those things. It's an observer. But sometimes it gets entangled, it says, I'm happy. Actually, the mind is happy. All right, I know, I don't know, I'm confused. These are knowing, not knowing, confusion are states of the mind. The buddhi is something separate from that, but it becomes identified and says, I am that. How do we separate the two? Then the finer one will control the grosser one. Beyond that, beyond the buddhi, and in the buddhi resides this power of discrimination, the intellect. Okay, it's where your sense of values are there, conscience, which is telling you your internal judgment. I'm doing this right and wrong. That resides in the buddhi level. And beyond that is the ahankara, I sense. I am sense. Now, in this drawing, where does that I sense dwell? Let us see. We said that the I sense is really here at the source. Okay? That is the pure I sense of a person of realization. So when a Jnani, Brahma Jnani, when he feels an I sense, it's not like I sense of this body and mind. He says, the whole universe is me. Everything has become integrated in my being. I am in everything and everything is in me. I am the ocean. He's not thinking I'm a little wave now. I'm that ocean in which everything is there. I'm the totality. But when he descends down into the gross world, he loses that sense of the awareness of the totality and he becomes limited. It's called sankochita. Limited becomes more and more and more limited. Each layer is like an imprisonment, so to say, that binds you there. And so as it comes down in this process of descent, you see, it's coming down. When it's at this level, it's identified with the intellect. When it comes down a little further, it becomes identified with the mind. When it comes down here, it has become identified with the body. This movable part, let's represent with a small I as a variable that's moving up and down. So in the waking state, here, if you say this state where one is aware of the external world, we call the Jagrat Avastha. When the same mind shifts to another plane of consciousness, when the senses are not perceiving the external world, but you are in a dream world and you are a dream identity, and you're also seeing things and eating things in the dream, you're having an experiences. You don't have a physical eye to see. There's an I in the dreamer which he sees, and you still remember those things. So we call that the dream state. Okay, that's called the swapna avastha. Avastha means state. And then even finer than, higher than that is the dreamless state. It's called sushupti. Sushupti. And beyond that is the pure Atman, or the pure consciousness, the fourth state called the Turiya. We are moving up and down in this every day. During the 24 hours, most of the time you are awake, then you go into a dream state, and then the real restful state is your dreamless state, and then you come back. We shuttle forth up in this way, that way. Maya is a statement of fact of what you experience depending where your eye consciousness is. Okay, let me repeat that. Maya is a statement of fact of what we experience depending on where our consciousness is. If it's at the gross level, we experience this material world. When it's in the subtle level, we experience a dream world. When it's in deep sleep state, I don't even have an idea of who am I, where am I. And this up and down movement happens. So there's a little bit of substance and knowledge given here for you to digest. It's something that we keep on developing, okay, in this whole picture. So I would like you to try to use a drawing, put all these ideas in a graphical form, and try to construct a picture where there's an external world, which will be down here, okay? Then your body is there, overlapping, interpenetrating is the mind, finer than that is the intellect, and then everything is enclosed into that ocean of cosmic consciousness where I'm one little bubble, you're another bubble, and that bubble is shining outside as consciousness, then it becomes a little grosser as the mind, then it becomes really thick and dense, solid inside as the body. And that is how we are. And then what you put in the picture, you try to sit down in some place quietly and say, let me visualize that in a three-dimensional space. So here's the body. My mind is something that's finer and penetrates through this body. And my intelligence is even something finer than that. But everything is contained in that ocean of consciousness. But we are seeing only the physical body. The mind we don't see. The other parts we don't see. Yet they exist. That is the picture that the rishis have. When they look at a person, they don't see the physical body. They see the divine body around that person. They go higher and they say everything, all the forms, names and forms merge away, and there's an ocean of consciousness and everything is full of bliss, and they are also part of that consciousness. That is the picture they're trying to tell us. So we try to sit down and visualize, and in our meditation, try to disentangle ourselves from this material level, merge it. Ice merges into water. Water becomes into the water vapor. Everything fades away into that cosmic consciousness. And then out of that, you remanufacture a pure intelligence body, a pure mind, and a pure physical body, and say, this is my better identity. But ultimately, all these things that we are trying to imagine, visualize with the help of the mind, stuck here, but trying to look up there, so to say. I want to climb up to that next level and have that experience myself. How do I do that? That would become the knowledge part of it. This is the information. Okay, then we say, when we study this, think about it, meditate, and you, a desire will say, so I'm so much bigger and more profound than this physical body. Okay, I'm not going to settle for this. How do I get access to my deeper, greater self? Then we'll talk out about the knowledge part of it and how they relate to you, and which could be the path that you can take as sadhana. But a graphical picture like this, where we can take any verse of the Upanishad, any teaching, and say, okay, the verse is talking about these things. I'll just move these words there, put them around there, and I get a picture which I can very easily remember, rather than memorizing the verses, then trying to think of the meaning. And by the time you go to the next level, the whole thing becomes missed here and there. And then we get lost in the jungle. All the scriptures talk about the same thing. Let's just get the picture right, the conceptual, this matrix right, and then focus more on the sadhana part of it. So your homework is to refine this drawing, think about it, and we'll go a little deeper the next time. And then when this has taken some shape, we'll try to take some verses of the Upanishad or Gita or something and put next to it and say, how does that help us to extract the knowledge and wisdom so much quickly, rather than playing with the ideas of knowledge or concepts only, but in a visual way. Very good. So we'll meet next Sunday again. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.